Welcome to the 6th season of ISRA League's Grand Touring Championship, sponsored by Z1 Simwheel. This is Race 3, 65 minutes at Laguna Seca. I'm Daniel Quaroni, and with me in the announcing booth is Anthony Muniz.
Great to be here again with you, Dan.
All right, well, let's run down the standings quickly after the race at Silverstone. We've got David Sawar with his commanding lead, but then there's a lot of competition in the middle. Lots of people 26 to 32 points down. So that's pretty much the entire top 10 right there. In Corvettes, well, it looks pretty similar, except Timothy Stoll has an even greater lead on everyone else. Jill's just 16 points down, but everyone else just in the 20s for the top 7. So another great close competition for even the top third spot there. And finally, in the GT2 category, we have Todd Carver still leading, but James Cullen just a breath behind. And actually, you look up to Kevin Parrish, and even then, not too far behind. Mm-hmm. Wyatt Foster coming in surprisingly at 15 points down, despite some early strong showing.
Yeah, it's he's always been a strong driver so far in the series, and kind of interesting to see that he's down so far in the points, because we usually talk about him up in the front of the field. So see if he can't have another good showing here today at Mazda as we look at the track circuit, and a little bit different than what we saw in Silverstone, Dan.
Well, that's absolutely right. This thing's all about the turns, and in fact, if you look at the qualifying times, we've got the LMPs doing a minute 10, the GT1s, those Corvettes, doing a minute 20, and the GT2s doing a minute 24 around here. So an enormous difference between, and 10 seconds on a 1 minute track is huge. Mm-hmm. But obviously, all in the corners. Probably in this track, every LMP running high downforce. I don't think there was any question about it this time.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And there's really not a whole lot of time for LMPs to make up time in long sweeping corners like we saw in Silverstone. I know once you get past the corkscrew, there's a little bit of time, but really a lot of... you'll have to make a lot of passes in the braking points to make sure that you can stay ahead of all the fast drivers that we have here.
Well, let's run down the field quickly. We've got David Sawar on point with Mark Payne just right behind him. David Sawar with a 1:10.4, Mark Payne 1:10.5. Chris Dameron Jr., actually, there was 1.52 for Mark Payne. Chris Dameron with a 5.7, and then Colin McLean with a 5.9. So the top 4 very closely packed. Then Jeremy Boris rounding up the top 5. Let's check out the GT1s now.
We have Alex Uleri got the pole with a 120.6, Timothy Stoll with a 127, John Middleton, Evgeny Gararinen, and Giles Moret were the top 5.
And finally, in GT2, before we go the green, Wyatt Foster on pole, Kevin Parrish second, Todd Carver, and then Mike Young and Daniel Giralti rounding out the top 5 as we go green. And it looks like some jostling around, and Jeremy Boris going a little bit onto the dirt, but things looking good. In GT2, an awesome battle there with Todd Carver and I believe that's Luke Pullen. Kevin Parrish was there. And on board now with Todd Carver, he's in 4th, and Carl Mumbauer was the other one mixing it up there. And Carl being right behind Todd here, running in 5th currently. And let's just quickly see if there was any position change there. Well, it looks like... It doesn't look like there was. Kevin ahead of Todd. Yep. So, despite the good run there, 3 wide, we are running as we were at the start. But I can see... Jumping now to Clint Vigas. Yep, we're jumping to GT1. Oh, and that looks like, is that Jules? No, that's 56. That's Carlos. Sorry, 58 of Carlos Passos, who went off, but recovered pretty well. And now to LMPs. Tons of action. LMPs completing lap 1 already. And we are looking at Lance Snyder as he well, as I am right behind him, and who's ahead? Jerry Morsdorf. And
yeah,
this is pretty far back in the field. This is 13th. I had qualified better, but I went off and came back on the field a little bit behind.
Yeah, this is really the action that we're going to see the entire race, with this being such a short circuit. As we see, you make the pass on the inside under braking on Lance for 13th position as you try and work your way back up the field. But this is it's a wide course, but it's also a short, close racing course, and we're going to see tons of action like this all race long.
And through the corkscrew now, Lance diving down, and well, losing quite a bit of time there. And it doesn't look like he is contested by anyone. He must be pulling in the last position at the moment in LMPs, but in the meantime, we can catch a glimpse. There we are. I'm right behind Jerry right there, getting a good run off the last corner. Looking left, looking right, and trying to go on the outside under braking.
Looks like you'll, if you're right, well, not going to see the finish, but that was a good move, and especially if you pull it off on the outside.
Yeah, well, let's just quickly look at the standings here. It looks like, it worked. So now on board with Mike Young in the number 21 car as he tries to pass Todd Carver. Looks to the inside, but doesn't have it. Todd running a little bit wide through Andretti, though. And, well, it doesn't look like it cost him too much, although Mike may have caught up. And, meanwhile, Clark Reed now going through Andretti, chasing down Anthony Roselli in the 37. As you said, this is going to be an action-packed race here.
Yeah, definitely, especially once it's within another lap or two, as we see the LMPs start to catch up to the back of the GT2 class, and then we'll have to work their way through all the traffic. It's going to get quite hectic for all these guys.
And that was Anthony touching the dirt, but, well, on this track, sometimes they put those red markers on the insides of all the corners, and I think he may have just run over that. I think he probably actually gained from that. As we see... Well, we see, let's see, who is this in the white car making the pass on Clark?
That looks like Anthony Roselli, I believe. That's the 73. Yep, that's Anthony Roselli.
Oh, okay, so I'm sorry, I thought Anthony was ahead. So that was Anthony Roselli there making that move. And let's see, which car are they behind?
That looks like John Kelly's Ford GT, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're right. That is the, well, it's either the 44 or the 6 of John Kelly. But meanwhile, let's switch over to Mike Kelly as, well, Mike and I go side by side on the Ford GT. I think he got by me on that move, so I got caught up a little bit in, oh, I'm sorry, was that was Colin, not me. I saw the orange in back, sorry. Well, he's running 5th now, and I'm obviously not running 5th. Now we're on board with me. All right. Still in 12th at the moment, but catching up with Brent in the 72. Once again, into Andretti. Looks like I'm closing through the corner. But I think he got a better exit. Kicking up a little bit of dirt. That was fairly
just about to
dangerous.
Point that out, yep.
And side by side now, and it looks like the pass is complete there. And that's going to put me into 11th as we encounter a truckload of GT traffic. And it looks like... Let's see, so that is Jason Gordon, I think. And who have I got ahead of me now? Is that Brent Briles? Sorry, no, that's Brent behind me, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
The next LMP that you're going to be trying to pass for position would be me, actually, in the number 1.
Well, all right. Let's see how that action goes down. And looking now at Chris Dameron Jr., currently running 2nd, right behind David Serrois. And that is a very close 2nd indeed. Right on David. Well, if that car had a bumper, he'd be right on it. looking to make a move on the inside, doesn't see it, but David goes a little bit wide just because I think he was worried about a potential dive bomb. And in behind some Ford GTs. Now on board with Gilles, and he's running second right now in the GT1 category, and that must mean that Alex Euleri is lapped. Is that right? No, Alex Euleri and Evgeny... No, I'm sorry, he's currently third. There we go, I'm sorry. Just took a moment for the standings to update.
You see the close battle between first and second as there's a close battle
Hunter.
And that's a battle. Looks like actually not a battle anymore, as Don Hunter makes the pass for third place. Good move there on the inside going into the Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, it's a great place for some late brave braking on the inside if you're up to it. But that's the top four in Corvettes right now. Alex Euleri, Evgeny Garanin, Don Hunter, and Gilles Moret right there, all running within 2 seconds of each other. Looks, though, like Gilles is falling back from Don. Well, no, maybe not. Maybe not. It looks like he's catching
through that corner. Yeah, like he gets through that corner a little bit better than everyone else. As we turn now to look at
Mike Kelly.
Who's this?
And he's currently running 10th, and that means something must have happened because he was running 5th earlier, so he's fallen down quite a bit. And he's got me chasing him at some point, but you right ahead. So you got by him, and I guess he slotted in between us.
See, not much distance between us. Traffic, of course, going to play a role. As you can see, that really slows me up going into the hairpin behind a couple, well, actually a Ford GT and a Corvette.
And I think that's Ryan Corns ahead of you.
So this is a fairly close battle, albeit not for the top positions in the class, but positions nonetheless.
And he goes on the outside. He takes it extra wide because he's worried there that Gilles was... Yeah, well, Gilles is right next to him, as you can see on the left there. Oh! And a little bit of contact. Well, that's because Gilles, he and I were going 3 wide. I went on the inside for the last turn, and a little bit of contact. We'll have to see if that impacts his speed at all. Meanwhile, looking now at James Mines. Oh!
Ooh,
and
wow.
That was actually my fault. I went a little bit wide and sideways into the hairpin, and fortunately everyone did a really good job to dodge me.
That's some great heads-up driving by all of those drivers right there. You can see there was a good 6 or 7 cars that were all in that same area, and for no contact from any of those cars, that's quite an accomplishment.
Let me tell you, I was amazed. I thought it was going to be race over when that happened. All right, so we've got James Mines, and it looks like he is relatively alone in the GT2 class. He's chased there by Carlos Passos, and that is Jerry Knitter, 47. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
In the Corvettes. And then he does have some competition there in the number 30 Ford GT, which is Alexei Dronov. But Alexei's got a bunch of actually faster traffic in between them, so he'll have to wait for those to clear up. Lance Snyder here, weaving his way around Jerry, who turns it around. And let's see if he can get it going straight again.
Luckily, no contact in that spin, just a loss of time. And staying on the dirt a little extra than probably needed, but just I think that's probably good on his part, just to make sure that you get back on the track safely. I know that's you don't want to have contact with another car.
Yeah, I think he was being extra cautious there.
Yep, that's good, especially early in the race. That's what you want to do. And
so we have Matthew Voigt. Let's see where Matthew Voigt is running. Well, Matthew Voigt is currently outside of the top 12. I'm sorry. No, he's running 10th now in GT, and it looks like Joe Hubbard is in the black and white striped car behind him. And now looking at Todd Carver. Todd Carver going a little bit sideways as he goes through the corkscrew, but he recovers it, and he's got Mike Young right behind him. Another car off there. I didn't see who that was. Todd Carver running in second right now, so this is the battle for second as Jerry Morsdorf catches up to them and has no choice there but to wait. And let's see who's ahead of Jerry there in the LMP. I think that may still be Mike Kelly.
Mike Kelly. Yeah, I believe you're right.
And we've got someone exiting the pits already. I'm sure that was an unscheduled stop. It's either Evgeny or Timothy Stoll.
They have basically identical team paint jobs, so it's hard to tell those two guys apart. See, ooh,
was that contact or was that just avoidance?
It could have been avoidance. It didn't look like from the visual that there was any contact,
well,
but that was a close call.
It slowed Todd down enough that Mike was able to make the move. So contact, going the other way. Normally it's the faster classes, being impacted, but right there, the slower classes having an impact that made a position change. All right, so we're back looking at Joe Hubbard in the number 3 car, chasing Matthew Voigt.
He's really closed the gap within a lap or so since we've last seen him. That's quite impressive.
That's right. I mean, he had that traffic between them, faster traffic, Corvettes and LMP, but he's done a good job now that he's got clean air to catch right up. Let's see if he can make a move. Well, he's really caught up. He is running much faster than Matthew, and I don't think he's going to have it going into the corkscrew. He's on the outside.
No, he might have had a little bit better of a chance if he stayed in the draft, but I think he, I'm not exactly sure why he poked his nose out there. Thought he might have a run going down to the corkscrew, but now we're going to switch class and take a look at Chuck Chambliss, who's currently running in the 6th position for LMP.
And he's right behind Jeremy Burris there in the DHL number 85, running 5th. And they're about to complete a lap as they break down for the front straight. And they've got Colin McLean right ahead of them as well. So Colin running 4th now. And that's where he qualified, so no change there for Colin. On board now with Chuck Chambliss. And we've got Matthew Voigt off, and I believe that's Jerry Knitter in the Corvette being cautious, trying to keep to the inside, and that slows Colin down as both Jeremy and Chuck get through, but Chuck gets through with a better exit speed. Not going to make a difference as they pass, I think that was Joe Hubbard.
Yep, and you can see the distance that he's put on Matthew Voigt as he made the pass for that
Colin,
position.
I'm not sure if that, I think that was Don Norris that Colin just got by, but Chuck Chambliss then getting by, Jeremy Burris. And that was a brave move there into the left-hander, number 6, as it's a place where you don't necessarily want to squeeze those other cars. So now we've got Colin running 4th, Chuck running 5th, and Jeremy running 6th. And quickly taking a look at the leader, well, it looks like actually there's a battle going right now. Oh, Chris Dameron is dropping down. He was up with David Sirwa, but I think it's just a telemetry issue, so let's focus on what's ahead of us, and we'll check out the top standings in a moment. So once again on board with Chuck Chambliss. And that right there, that traffic is going to slow Colin way down. That might give, if there's enough width, then that's going to give Chuck the... Oh, it's side by side.
Wow.
Chuck going on the outside.
What a move right
And he's
there.
done it. He's now running 4th. That was amazing. Oh, no, but Colin has the speed. I think he just outbroke him and was running to the left. And so Colin back and forth. And Jeremy taking advantage of all this, yes. He's happy to see them dicing it up because that is an opportunity for him to catch up. And heading down into the final right-hander. Oh, no!
Oh, wow.
And Chuck going way off.
Don't know what happened coming out of that corner that caused
I think
that.
he just got on the gas a little bit too early, a little bit too much, and it sent him off to the right. I think he hit the wall there. I think that may be the end of Chuck's race.
Yeah, he was heading off the track at a very high speed coming out of that corner, so it'd be tough not to hit the wall. That's very unfortunate. He and Colin were having such a great battle.
All right, well, so that's going to elevate Jeremy back up to 5th as we look now at the third place car, the number 31, Gilles Moret. And Gilles Moret is right behind Evgeny. And side by side, I think that was Clark. That was Clark in the 37. And tried to get by where there just wasn't space.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Clark was expecting him to make an outside move going into that final corner and just went a little bit wide. He was probably taking more of his normal line through that corner. Yeah,
that's a tough corner to make a case for multi-class passing because everyone goes through it, even the LMPs practically at the same pace.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're on board now with Lance Snyder running 13th behind Jerry Morsdorf. And the battle for 12th, it looks like Lance got a great run right behind Alex Ulleri, looking for space and not going to make the move. But let's see how Alex was tracking out wide. I think that's going to give Lance the pick.
I think you're right, yep.
But now we switch to Mike Kelly.
Wow. Good save.
Yeah, great save through the hairpin. It looks like he stalled it. Well, it looked like he was probably finding a gear. Yep. And he's back underway in 11th right now. But that was almost disaster for him.
Yeah, as we look now at Brian Carey, who is currently in the 7th position, and that looks like John Kuzlin, right? Yep. Right in front of him, yep.
And let's just quickly look where Brian Carey qualified. He's often very fast. Let's see. Looks like he qualified 10th. So actually uncharacteristically poor qualifying for Brian Carey there. But it looks like he's making up for it with race speed as he's right on John's tail. And looking now again at the battle between Lance and Jerry Morsdorf. As I said, Lance looked like he was going to get by, and he did. Oh, but Lance going side by side. I can't tell if that's once again with Tim or Evgeny.
That looks like Chris Damron, but I believe he's coming up to put a lap on those two guys, so that's not a battle for
Chris
position.
Damron currently the race leader. So, as I was saying, that telemetry was a little bit mixed up at the time. It looks like the standing right now in HPDs is Chris Damron, Mark Payne, David Swa, and then Colin McLean still running 4th. That's Clark Reed off again in the number 37, off on turn 4 there. I'm sorry, that was turn 3. And wow, Brian making a very late move on the inside there of that Corvette. But it was successful.
Good heads-up driving on that from that Corvette driver to recognize that he was indeed going to come. Ooh, it looks like there's almost contact between John and Brian as they go into the corkscrew.
Oh, no, and there was already the number 71 was off there.
Wow.
So that was
Jeremy Burns
Clint
is
Vigas.
also off.
Oh, no. And looks like that's also in the corkscrew. Well, the corkscrew claiming many victims today, as it usually does. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Jeremy, I think he's just looking for a good opportunity. Tough to tell if he's running slow because of damage. No, that must be it. He'd be bringing it on the track if he thought he had a chance.
Yep.
So I think that's game over as he slipped by there and into the pits.
Same. Yep.
And Clark Reed entering the pits right ahead of him.
We saw him spin off into coming out of turn 3 on his previous lap, so he must have contacted the wall and wanted to come in and get some damage repaired.
Well, so Brian was running with John Kuzland, and looks like John did end up taking some damage. Whether there was contact between the two or not, it's tough to tell.
Yeah, there was a lot of commotion going on in the corkscrew, and so he could have it could have been the contact with Brian, it could have been the contact with another car that had gone off. I know there was probably 3 LMPs and at least 1 Corvette that had problems in the corkscrew the last lap. So,
and Jeremy calling it quits, as you see, and John as well. Both of them out of the race now. Back looking at Matthew Voigt running in 10th, and he is following Joe Hubbard. And since they've got a decent gap, we should have a gap in the action to run through the standings. In LMP, as I said, Chris Dameron Jr., Mark Payne, David Sirwa, and Colin McLean. Brian Carey in 5th.
In the GT1 Corvette class, Don Hunter is the class leader, followed by Evgeny Garernin. Giles Moret, Alex Uleri has dropped to 4th position, and Clint Vigas rounds out the top 5.
And it looks like actually, well, we'll have to keep an eye on Corvettes because I see people down laps, and I think they're off the road. And finally, in GT2, we've got Wyatt Foster running first, Mike Young, then James Cullen, Daniel Geralti in 4th, and James Mines running 5th. That must right there have been a move for lapping, as we are looking at now the number 30 of Alex. Oh no, that was Alexei Dronov, and I think he was just making a move on Andy Gooderson for position, so good on him. Marty Jeffrey is now exiting the pits. And being very cautious as he exits. I think he's being a little bit too cautious, frankly. I think he could hug the left-hand side of the track there and be just fine.
Yep.
Team manager will be pretty angry at him for that.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely can get out. Most of those guys are exiting the Andretti hairpin corner wide. Anyways, you can see the normal racing line goes out, and it looks like Todd Carver had a mishap coming out of that corner. But most of the cars will track out to the rumble strips on the right side of the track, so there is room for cars coming out of the pits to take the outside lane and exit safely and more quickly than what we saw.
So Clark Reed now in 14th, and it's tough to tell. He's got Andy Gooderson ahead of him, but is Andy Gooderson was running 7th, so Clark Reed is definitely a lap down after sustaining damage from an off, and once again going off and trying to recover it. Oh!
Wow, that was a hard impact.
Yes, that was a bad recovery, and that is the end of Clark's race for sure. And we are jumping on board, or not on board, but to look at Jerry Morsdorf in 11th. Lance Snyder still ahead of him. And
Jerry being quite cautious going through turn 3.
Yeah, that looked very bizarre. It's tough to tell if that was due to damage or what, but I think he should have made the move right there.
Yep. Looks like he's driving normally besides that, so I think that was just showing a little too much caution now as we go on board with Andy Gooderson, who is currently in the 7th place. I think, that's
Alexei Dronov, yep, ahead of him in the number 13. I'm sorry, in the number 1. Nope, sorry, Alexei's number is 30. There we go, now that I got that straight. We have him running through the corkscrew, making the left hand, and there's another GT up there, but no time to talk about that because we're looking at Clint Vigas as Clint is getting past some GT2 traffic, slotting in there between, that looks like Jason Gordon, and going off, and from this camera angle we can't see if he hit the wall, but he's reversing, so I think that must have happened. Yep. Well, Laguna Seca here claiming some victims in the 40th minute, or 40 minutes to go, and 25th minute, with Brian Carey from the chopper view. Brian Carey running wide from 5th position. And
luckily, doesn't go too wide to hit the wall and recovers back onto the track nicely, but probably a scary moment when he realized that his car wasn't going to go around the Andretti hairpin properly.
Yeah, I'm sure that didn't make his day, that's for sure. And once again, a tight pack of traffic, looking at the number 73 of Anthony Roselli. And he is in running 8th behind the Andy Gooderson in the 13 car. As they head up the Rahal Straight into the corkscrew. And I'm not sure. I think that must have been for traffic, but that was a Corvette. I don't think that he had to give that much leeway for the Corvette. I think he should have gone for it. But
no, I think he could have taken his line. But now we are going to look at Don Norris, who's currently running 13th in LMPs, and That is Jerry Mooresdorf and Colin McLean slotting through both of them. No, Colin is putting a lap on them, but I'm not sure if that is a fight for position between Don and Jerry.
Yeah, unfortunately, the running standings only go to 12th, so it's tough to tell. But now we're switching over into my car. And, well, now over to Ryan Corns. And someone looked like they locked their brakes, but that must have been Andy Gooderson. So Ryan Corn's running 6th right now, with me running behind him in 7th, and I'm just a second back, so if the view changes momentarily, hopefully we'll see that. And here we are on board with Ryan. Oh, he puts a wheel on the dirt. And a ton of traffic through the corkscrew. That's really going to slow him down and give me an opportunity to catch up. And there we are, finally in the picture.
Yeah, you can see the traffic really allows you to catch up right on the back of Ryan. Almost thought about taking... Oh, you're going to take the outside maybe here, going
side by side. I'm a little bit ahead, but no. Yeah, we're going side by side through the turn. It looks like Don Hunter and James Mines had a little contact there. And
both cars do get going again. So
James,
but Don Hunter's very slow there.
Well, he was against the wall.
The track. Yeah. So.
And you know what? James was wiggling back and forth. I think he's taken some steering rack damage there.
Yep. Yeah, he's having a real hard time with that car right now.
Yep. That's it for James. And we're back now with the battle between myself and Ryan. This is the battle for 6th as we get past Gilles in his Corvette.
You guys have a little bit of open track now, as you can see Ryan running a little bit wide coming out of turn 6 as you head down towards the corkscrew. But this definitely, and you looks like you almost thought about making a move on the inside. That's going to probably give you a little bit better run. Ryan looked like he was a little slow going through that corkscrew.
Yeah, I think he just went wide. I wasn't trying to make a move so much as just taking a good inside line. And Ford GT is slowing Ryan up, but it's also going to slow me up, so I don't think there's any advantage there.
The key will be, can you pass as many Ford GTs going? And it looks like you're probably going to be able to, as it looks like you're faster on the straight than Ryan is. That could be part of the draft. But
I'm sure that's drafting, yep.
Yeah, but passing the Ford GTs at the same time as Ryan will help you stay right on the back bumper, or well, these cars don't have bumpers, but stay right on the back of Ryan, and see, it looks like he gets better through that corner a little bit better than you did, but you managed to even have to brake on that straightaway going through that kink, so you can definitely see that you're running very, very quick lap times. Ryan probably running quick lap times too, but getting held up by the traffic, as we can look at Don Hunter, who's currently trying to make his way around the outside of the track to the pits. Saw him on the front straight earlier in that the incident with I believe that was James Mines. Yeah. Yep.
Well, Don obviously hasn't given up. He's hoping that the damage can be repaired and he can get back in the race. And looking now at Anthony Roselli. And he is chasing down Andy Gooderson still. Anthony Roselli in the 73, Andy Gooderson in the Team Tortoise number 13. And jumping now back on board with me into the Andretti hairpin as I'm still chasing Ryan Corns. Want to quickly just take a moment here to thank our sponsor, Z1 Simwheel. You can check out their products at z1simwheel.com, ranging from LCD boxes to full, beautiful wheels with dials and the LCD display in there. So just like a good real F1 car. And, I went a little wide there.
Yep, looks like you hit that red curbing on the inside of turn 6, caused the for you to be unsettled a little, or your car rather to be unsettled a little bit as you came out, but no harm done. You didn't go flying off the track, and you're still right behind Ryan. Almost looked like you have a chance to get.
No, there was not room.
Yeah, Ryan got held up by Clint Vigas in his Corvette, and that allowed you to pull right on the back of the track. Not quite wide enough, but we can see Ryan now going wide on the final turn 11. That definitely allows you to get by for, I'm not even sure what place we're fighting for, sixth, right? Yep.
And now we're jumping over to Joe Hubbard, and a brief onboard shot with him as he is chased by James Cullen. And Joe running in 7th right now. Lance Snyder going to take the inside to get by there. And James Cullen, who's been running some pretty good races lately, running in 8th right now.
Yeah, I think Mazda Raceway has really kind of shaken up a lot of the front runners that we've seen so far. This has presented a different challenge than we've had in the first 2 races so far in the season, and I think that's kind of why you see different guys qualifying at the front of the pack.
He went wide for Brian.
Yep. So, yeah, I think that's why we're seeing a little bit of a mix-up, which is definitely a good thing. And looks like
he's got James right next to him, and he's pulling ahead. He's pulling ahead on the inside, so I expect to see the pass completed here.
Quite difficult to defend on the outside here.
Oh, but he's... Oh, nope. So, once again, traffic playing a part there in the slower classes. Wow, Mark Payne right on the tail of Don Hunter. I thought they were going to make contact right there. And Chris Dameron Jr. But
this is the battle for first place.
That's right. In LMPs, Chris Dameron, though, maintaining his position in first. Mark went a little bit hot into turn 3 there. He's going to have to try to get past Timothy Stoll, and he does it in order to maintain his pace. And looking now at Lance Snyder. And Lance Snyder is right, he's getting lapped by Brian Carey, and that's going to happen momentarily. And I know why we're watching that shot. He just passed Mike Kelly, who's in the pits currently, and so that's going to advance Lance Snyder into 9th position.
Ooh, and that looks like Joe Hubbard taking the dirt path through the corkscrew.
And now watching Brent Briles. Brent running 7th at the moment. And it looks like he's going wide is what he's doing.
I believe he was trying to chase down, that looked like John Kuzlin. I'm not sure if it was. I just caught a glimpse of the next LMP in line. But
well, according to the standings, it should be me. So if it was John Kuzlin, then John is running 11th, and that would have been to lap John.
Okay. Back on board with Mark Payne, who's currently in 2nd, trying to chase down Chris Dameron Jr., who is that yellow LMP just ahead of him.
And it looks like they're about to put a lap on me. And based on my poor performance at the beginning of the race, I really deserve that to be a lap down. Watching Mark as he navigates around Joe. And I didn't give way right there because there was so much traffic that it was slowing me down. There was no point in letting the race leaders by. But here on the straight, I think I'm going to end up letting them by.
See Mark Payne with a little bit of a wiggle coming out of turn 11. Probably just a little bit too much throttle application.
Yeah, and you can tell by his rear wing he's taken a little bit of damage. So car maybe not running fully up to speed at the moment. And David Serrois just entering the pits now in 3rd position. And
that was 3 wide for a moment there as Chris tried to thread the needle between you and that Ford GT. And as you can see right there, you let Chris by to put the lap on. Probably will allow Mark to go by as well. But back to what you were saying about the LMPs putting laps. We saw the leaders lap a good majority of even the LMP traffic, and that's not something we normally see. Even
wow,
wow, that was quite a move. You can see it took my words away there for a second. These leaders are, especially here, the guys that were running in the top 3 or 4 put some amazing average times down. As we can see, Chris Damron diving into the pits to make his pit stop. I think this is should be his only pit stop. I think most cars can make it on one stop.
Yes, with just 65 minutes, this is definitely a one-stopper for the LMPs. Now, let's see. It looks like... Alright, well, so we're on board with John Kuzna. I was just trying to figure out who's pitting when and who has already pitted. Since David Sawal, we know, was in the pits, he's now running 5th behind Brian Carey, but I'm sure that Brian and Colin have not pitted yet, so we'll have to see how that shakes out. And now looking at John Kelly. And John Kelly running in the number 38 Ford GT, heading onto the onto the front straight, and looping it nicely, but getting it pointed right way off track.
Luckily for him, there wasn't another car going around turn 11 also, as he kind of... I'm not sure if he shot it into the dirt on purpose because there was no car coming through, but luckily no damage taken there on the part of John Kelly.
Now on board with the number 25, Matthew Voigt, running 11th behind the 10th place Jason Gordon in the number 99 car, and they are right neck and neck there. Not quite neck and neck. Nose to tail. Though Jason opening up a gap, as Jason taking a very defensive line. That's got to be a slow line there as he enters Andretti, and I expect Matthew Voigt to take advantage of that.
Yeah, we can see he's closed the gap a little bit. That was quite a strange line, and then going wide through turn 3. It could be just feeling the pressure of Matthew Voigt putting on him. As you can see, Matthew has really closed the gap between them now. With the double apex of the Andretti hairpin, you definitely don't want to take that defensive inside line if you can help it. And Matthew Voigt now on the inside of Jason Gordon.
He's got it.
Yep. Looks like he should have it, as there's also other faster traffic that is also going to try and make their way through.
Oh, and I don't know if that was Evgeny, but I think there was a little contact there with that Corvette trying to weave his way through, but there was still a very close battle going on.
Yeah, it looked like there was... it looked like he got a little sideways going into turn 6. I'm not sure if it was because of contact, but that definitely slowed everyone up a bit.
So we have Marty Jeffries there in the Corvette. And contact with Brent, as I think there was just a little bit too much confusion over who should go where. I think Marty... it looked like Marty went left and then went right and wasn't sure what to do, and boy, those cars look funny without a front on them. Well, that's obviously the end. Well, I guess they could get a new front end on that, but
depending on how much damage. If there's no suspension damage, then usually you can throw a new nose on it. But this looks like Andrew Goodison going wide through the Andretti hairpin.
He's running 5th right now, so that's... Well, it looks like he is keeping 5th position, losing telemetry on him. There he is again. Yep, and still in 5th. And now Chris Damron Jr., and Chris Damron is in 2nd at the moment after having pitted, so that's a pretty good position right now, and he's right behind Mark Payne, the race leader at the moment.
I'm not sure if Mark has made his pit stop yet, has he?
That's what I was trying to figure out. I don't think he has. But if he hasn't, he's got to make it this lap, so we'll have to see.
This is, if he hasn't, that's quite a good job for Chris Damron Jr. to be right back up on his the tail end of Mark.
Yeah, he must have made it. He would have had to pit this lap. So, obviously, this is the real battle for position. Chris right on Mark's tail. drafting along. I don't think he's going to be able to make a move through
Nope,
Andretti.
this is where you'll have to see where you do have to take the defensive inside line through Andretti hairpin.
And Mark manages to keep it going as I exit the pits right there. And threading through traffic. Oh no! One of that was Anthony Roselli, I think, going. Well, I think he thought he was doing something helpful, but ended up with the whole track being filled with Ford GTs, and that's going to give Chris Dameron... Oh, no, I thought it was. He got ahead, but then Mark Payne on the inside of turn 6, up the Rahal straight, into the corkscrew with Mark still ahead.
Well, quite a battle we've got going on right here with these two quick leaders. I think what happened was Mark was... Even though Chris was able to get by on the inside, Mark was able to dive on the back on the left side of Chris to put the pressure on him for turn 6 and take the position back on the inside. That was an awesome move on Mark Payne's part.
Now watching Andy Gooderson, currently in 7th still, Team Tortoise car, and he's behind Joe Hubbard as they get onto the front straight. And back now with the race leaders. Have to keep... There are so many good battles, you just have to keep trekking in between them, back and forth, see what's going on, keep up to date. Chris Dameron Jr. going very, very wide. Oh, no!
Wow.
He spun it, and
he's into the wall. Wow.
That's the end of the race.
Such a shame. They were putting up such a good battle for first place, and we've seen cars taking a little bit of the... dipping tires off into the dirt a little bit the entire race, and I guess that time he just put a little bit too much off, and that caused that spin.
Well, I can say from personal experience right there, it's extremely dangerous. You're entering the turn, and then there's no grip on those two tires, and it rotates in an instant. And that was, I believe, Joe... No, not Joe.
That's John Kelly.
John Kelly.
It's gone off in the corkscrew.
Well, I think he felt a little pressure from Mark Payne there, who wanted to go on the inside. All right, so now watching in 6th position, the number 3 of Joe Hubbard. And he's got James Cullen ahead of him. And Andy Gooderson in 7th is not too far behind. Oh, and now he will be farther. Yep. Oh, but it looks like he recovered pretty well because he's still running. Didn't lose too much time there. Nicely done, Andy. And looking at Mike Young now. Well, there are 3 Ford GTs, and Mike Young going for the move on that Wyatt. That's Wyatt, and that's... Well, now I'm trying to figure who's in 2nd, because we've got the 1st and 3rd cars listed right next to each other. We've got Daniel Gralti in 2nd somewhere, but I don't know where. That couldn't have been... He couldn't have been lapping him, could he? I think he was just lapping him. He was lapping him. So Wyatt Foster lapping the 3rd place car of Mike Young. He is now a lap down. Wow. Well, that answers that.
Yeah, that's quite impressive to see all but 2 cars in the GT2 lapped. That's quite impressive. We know that we've seen Wyatt Foster do have some incredible races so far in the 2 races that we've had, and to see him performing so well in this race is very impressive. And
Wyatt actually has a 57-second lead on Daniel Gralti, so he's almost lapping Daniel Gralti in 2nd. But let's look here at David Serwat and Colin McLean, because this is the battle for 2nd. As these 2 powerhouses, Colin getting that great drafting effect, but having to let up a little bit, looking to make a move, under braking as they lap. I think that was Jerry.
Yeah. Colin staying on the inside, but
currently he's ahead. But David's got the inside.
Through turn 3. Colin stays side by side with him though on the outside. That's quite impressive. They're gonna catch Carlos Passos. Ooh, I'm wondering how that will impact this. Oh wow, they both get by on the straight. I wonder if Carlos let up a little bit on the throttle to let these 2 guys go. Colin still side by side with with David?
Well, I'll tell you, David said that he did take a little bit of damage, and it looks like, based on his rear wing, he's currently running with that damage. He had to pit for repairs because it was pushing, and he said that after that, even it just still wasn't perfect. So I think David really struggling with the car right now. Well, it looks like even Colin's got some damage there on the right side, but, well, yeah, on both sides, but probably far less than David. Nice entry to the final straight, or the front straight.
Yeah, that's probably not a uncommon sight to see a little bit of these cars have some, or most of these cars rather, have some damage by the end of this race.
And Andy Gooderson exiting the pits, that's going to put him down to 9th. From 7th, where he had been running. And I'm not sure if that was a scheduled pit stop. It probably was, as we have clocked down, 50 minutes? 55 minutes from this race. So that sounds like a pretty good time for the Ford GT to be pitting. And looking back now at Colin on board for a moment as they head up their haul straight into the corkscrew. Only same class traffic ahead. They'll be lapping Lance, who is currently 3 laps down from the race leader. And also that means from 2 laps down from these guys at the moment. Let's see how that factors in, though. Will Lance let them by? And if so, where?
Looks like David will probably be able to get by Lance going into the Andretti. Yep. Oh, yeah. And Colin's able to sneak by as well. So that could have.
Yeah, I'm not sure how forceful Colin was being, but I think Lance felt it was wiser to let him by.
Yeah, I agree. As you can see, that they come up to pass Daniel Gralti in the Ford GT. He's currently running in 2nd place.
Well, he was running Daniel Gralti briefly was running 57 seconds down off Wyatt, but now just 30. So I think there may have been a pit stop involved in there.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
On board now with Colin McLean in 3rd place. Colin looking very fast. But David Serrois just always is very fast.
Meanwhile, the LMP leader, Mark Payne, has managed to pull out a good 30 seconds or so over these two guys. So he's got quite a comfortable lead going into the final 15 minutes or so of the race.
And Joe Hubbard letting them by without any trouble, but it looks like that slowed David Serrois up quite a bit. Colin not close enough to make the move, but close enough to definitely be in the draft and making David nervous. If David gets nervous, I'm not really sure he ever does.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he has that gene in him.
Into the corkscrew. All right, well, here we're going to have to watch for where the two of them are stronger, which part of the course each of them is better. And
both
that's
guys
Tom Carver.
Yep, that's just about to say that. Both guys pretty equal going into turn 11 onto the front straight as we look now at Jerry Morsdorf, who's currently running in 11th position. Looking to, I think that Lance Snyder, who's right in front of him, that is a battle for 10th, actually. Those guys are on the same lap.
Yep, so there are points at stake here. And Jerry doing a good job of catching up to Lance. I'm not sure what put him so far back before, but he's got the speed. And closing the gap with every turn. I think we'll see a pass, if not at the corkscrew, a little bit after it.
Yeah, Jerry should be, especially with that Ford GT coming up, he should be right on the back end of Lance.
Oh yeah, that sealed the deal. Jerry is as close as he feels comfortable being. Being a little bit cautious since he's not directly behind the Ford GT and can't read it as well as Lance. Onto the straight, and well, a decent gap, but not too big.
I think Lance was able to open up that gap a little bit going into turn 11. He was able to take a comfortable line through. Jerry had to negotiate past that Ford GT of Todd Carver, I believe. So maybe not taking the line he wanted to and had to exit a little bit more slowly than Lance did. But it seems like he's able to close the gap a bit now as they come up to more Ford GT traffic.
And let's quickly just as well... Oh, wait, no! I thought he was going to go for it. He was looking on the inside. He didn't have... That's going to slow him down quite a bit. And while he catches back up to Lance, let's run through the standings. In LMP, we've got Mark Payne, David Serrois, Colin McLean, Brian Carey, and Daniel Quaroni running 5th.
In the GT1 Corvettes, we've got Evgeny Gararinin running first, Giles Moret, Clint Vigas, Marty Jeffries, and Carlos Passos running out the top 5.
And in GT2, we have Wyatt Foster leading with Daniel Gralti in 2nd, Mike Young in 3rd, Anthony Roselli 4th, and James Cullen 5th. And Brian Carey making a passing maneuver here, and that's going to slow Jerry up as they go side by side. And looking now once again at the battle between Colin McLean and David Serrois. Colin, oh wow, Andy Gooderson facing the wrong direction off on the dirt.
You can see David Serrois has managed to build up a decent-sized gap between himself and Colin. I'm not sure if traffic played a role in that, but we'll have to see if Colin can't close that back up and battle with Colin for 2nd place.
But now quickly looking at John Kelly, and John Kelly running 12th. He has he's a lap down from Wyatt Foster ahead of him, and there is Lance and Brian, and there's Jerry. As we switch our focus over to Jerry, going through the corkscrew, trying to close that gap once again with Lance and see if he can try to make another passing attempt. And I don't think... Well, the Corvettes aren't going to slow Lance down, but we'll have to see how Jerry's able to get by in the braking zone for Andretti. He's not at all, and Lance slots in between Wyatt and Don Hunter. Don Hunter, if we recall, was limping around the outside, and it looks like he was able to get the car repaired and back on track, but he's 6 laps down, currently running in 6th position, though, so some decent points still. Good effort from Don to keep the car going.
Yeah, I agree, and especially with how close the points battles are so far in the season. I know it's early. Oh, and definitely a big miscommunication there.
Yep.
Wow, between that was Carlos Passos, and David Serrois going into turn 10. Colin also had good avoidance to avoid running into the back. As we can see, Carlos is still struggling with his car right now. Definitely a close call for those two lead LMP cars.
Carlos running 5th ahead of Don Hunter there by a full lap. And now we're going to look and see how that has impacted the battle between David and Colin.
Well, it's close the gap between the two guys, if nothing else.
Well, will it give us any opportunities here? Let's watch and see Colin going a little bit wide. I didn't see any dirt kicked up though, so I think he just kept it on the runnable strip. through a corkscrew. Colin, wow, he really rotated it, but it looks like he got it through pretty darn well. Taking a nice close apex there. Hitting once again. Colin driving a really nice line.
Be interesting to see if, no, I was going to say it'd be interesting to see if this Corvette holds them up, but they get by even before the kink with no problem.
Yeah, the acceleration on the LMP from a low speed, well, not from a stop, but from a low speed is definitely better than any of the other cars. It's just when it gets that high speed, it tops out much lower. On board with Colin as he heads through turn 3, and now watching Ryan Corns. Ryan Corns in 8th at the moment, and he's chasing John Koosland, who's just about a second ahead of him. The battle for 7th here.
Looks like there is some GT traffic in front of them, so that could allow Ryan to close the rest of the gap. It looks like it will, because John gets stuck behind a Ford GT. I believe that could... who is that?
That's either Joe Jr. or Jason Gordon.
But, yep, and then we've also got the Ford GT of James Cullen right in front of John Koosland now, so that could play a factor. You can see Ryan Corns has to put on the brakes a little bit to avoid hitting John Koosland as he was slowed up by the Ford GT of James Cullen.
And on board now with Ryan. Past Anthony Roselli on the right, and that's going to be with comfortable time for braking for the corkscrew. And actually, Jerry Morsdorf right ahead of them, but he's a lap down.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
And Clint Vigas now entering the corkscrew side by side with Matthew Voigt and going. Oh, he manages to hold it together, but wow.
Forces Matthew wide, which forces you even wider, so good job by all three of you to avoid any contact between the cars.
And watching Matthew Voigt now as he heads down the straight, with Clint Vigas passing him and Gilles close behind. And that, between Clint and Gilles, it would be a battle for position, except that Gilles is 2 laps ahead, and Matthew going wide under, I think, some... Oh,
Clint also off at the Andretti hairpin as well. So I wonder if Clint might be struggling with some damage currently now as we look on the back of James Cullen, who's currently running 5th in the Ford GTs.
And you can see quite a ways behind him there was Anthony Roselli here, who we're now on board with. I'm sorry, James Cullen. Yeah, that was right. So Anthony Roselli up ahead of James Cullen. And that looks like, is that Joe Jr.? No, that's...
Looks like Genio Gralti in front of them.
No, I think the red and black Ford GT is lap traffic, so okay. I thought it may have played a part here. But, wow, James Cullen making a great move on Anthony. And,
well, yep, and looks like he'll maintain it.
Yep. Great move on the inside into Andretti. And that's going to elevate James up to 4th. And back watching Andy Gooderson as he is he on the same lap as Matthew Voigt? He is, so that's Andy in 9th and Matthew in 10th.
Or rather, Matthew Voigt in 10th, or 9th, and Andy in... Oh, and
Andy yes, but,
will spin going into turn 3, so that will really dash any hopes of him catching back up to Matthew Voigt for the 9th position.
And not the first time he's been off in that corner.
Nope. And with 4 minutes left, I'm pretty sure, unless Matthew has a mistake, he won't be able to catch back up.
And the battle between David and Colin still raging on here. traffic still. Oh, Wyatt going.
Wow.
Nice job, Wyatt. That was a beautiful way to tuck in right behind Daniel Gralti.
Having a slow, lazy spin through
the corkscrew.
Yep. That allows Andy Gooderson. I believe that is for position.
That's Matthew Voigt. And
you're right. Yep.
No, that's not. Yep.
Daniel spinning again.
Again.
He must have damage or something to have that.
I think you're right. His rear wing looks a little off.
Yeah.
So.
And that's not like him to spin 2 times in a row like that. So, yep, his rear wing looks bent to me.
And this is on board with Ryan Corns, the number 5 car, running in 8th. He's got Mark Payne looking to lap him, so he's right behind him. And we'll see where Ryan lets him by. We'll see if Ryan lets him by.
He got a good run coming out of turn 11.
Yeah, well, I guess he's just waiting for Mark Payne to get really close. It doesn't really pay to let them by unless they're at least within a half second. We're on board the driver's view now with John Kuzland, who's running 7th. And John is running behind Mike Kelly by 13 seconds. And Ryan Corns.
Makes a pass on the inside going into turn 5.
Wow, he made that look easy.
Yeah, he's driving away now. I wonder if John's a little bit off pace.
And there's... Oh, we are on board with James Cullen in 3rd. He's just exiting the pits with 2 minutes to go. It's possible that he was able to stretch his fuel that long. I'm not sure. He entered 4th, and looks like he is going to manage to keep that position.
Quite impressive to stretch the fuel on the Ford GT to almost an hour, the entire race, an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, I know that the Ford GT can handle an hour for sure. I'm not sure if he may have had to pit for damage or perhaps just a fuel miscalculation. I'm not sure. But in the meantime, we're watching Jason Gordon as he goes wide through the corkscrew, and he keeps it from looping and gets back on with a minute 20 to go. Jason Gordon's running in 11th, and that's probably where he's going to stay.
I don't imagine that that off at the corkscrew will affect him too much. Looking now at Todd Carver, who's currently running in the 5th position in the GT2 category.
And so Jason Cullen, who had just exited the pits, is ahead of him, let's see, by 11 seconds. So he's got a lot. Oh, but he went off,
that's him
and
right there.
That's
he got
why,
it wrong.
Yep.
Got it wrong going through the corkscrew. That will allow Todd to possibly challenge with only 45 seconds left in the race.
And watching John Kelly, as John Kelly heads up the Hall Straight, and he's running in 12th into the corkscrew, and he looks like he was going, I don't know if he missed his brake point or if he was going slow for traffic, going wide for traffic rather, but having some trouble in the corkscrew there. Clint Vigas now with Brent Briles behind him. Well, so Brent damaged his car, and it looks like he got the nose fixed, so good for him to keep in the race. Running 9th at the moment, so some points to be collected there. And Clint spinning it.
Making a bit of contact with the wall.
And normally that wouldn't be a problem, but for the Corvettes, the radiator's back there, so got to be careful with the back end. Now looking at Mark Payne, the race leader, as he brings it home on the final lap.
Looks like he's managed to... Actually, Ryan's managed to keep Mark behind him. I'm just wondering if Mark didn't even bother challenging since he had such a commanding lead going into the final minutes.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. So, that is a win for the number 34 of Mark Payne. And now watching John Kelly as he loops through 6. Keeps it off track. And Evgeny in the 10. We've got Colin McLean in the 68, just ahead of David Serrois. And this is Evgeny leading in the Corvettes.
Good job of Colin McLean to manage to sneak by David Serrois in the final minutes of the race. I know they had a great battle all race long, and that's a good job for Colin to be able to pull off a second place.
And this is Wyatt Foster, and he's going to be winning for the GT2 category. And as the standings tally up, all right, there we go. So we have David Serrois, still not as many points from this race, but still a huge lead. This field's starting to spread out a little bit behind him, though. Colin McLean making good advances, though, after his initial bad run at Spa. Timothy Stoll holding on to first in the GT1 category, but Jill's just behind with 8 points back. And then, once again, we've got a big battle for third through sixth. And in GT2, close between James Cullen, who I don't think has won a race, but has just competed very well and finished well in each one. Todd Carver 2 points behind, but Wyatt Foster with that first place, bringing him up just 5 points behind James. So I expect to see him take the lead after the next race. Well, that's going to wrap it up here with our trip to California. Anthony, anything to reflect on for this race?
Well, we saw a lot of great battles. I think that all the drivers did a really good job negotiating traffic. It was, I think, in practice, it was a struggle for everyone to try and adapt to the different driving styles of each car, especially for the LMPs that are so much faster. And so I think everyone did a really good job, and I'm looking forward to the next race at Sebring.
All right, and Colin, since you mentioned his great job getting past David, had a comment which was, this is one of the most fun and intense races he's ever been part of, as yes, he managed to pull off that second place finish just as they crossed the line, just a 10th difference between them. Well, on the part of ISRA League and Z1 SimWheel, I want to thank you for watching. We'll be back again at going down to sunny Florida from sunny California, and we have 75 minutes at Sebring coming up. That's race 4. See you then.